Brooke, how is she? What kept her out yesterday, and will she be back on Wednesday?
I can't disclose, what kept her out under the weather, but I don't know. I don't foresee her being back for Wednesday, but it's not going to be a long-term, like out for the season or anything like that.
Oh, okay. I mean, but is it fair to say if I were to categorize it illness?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay. And then what about Deannis? Is there any prognosis that you can share with us in terms of how long she might be sidelined?
Hers is also going to be kind of a day-to-day thing, but again, nothing that's a major season ending or anything like that, which is I'm grateful for both, excuse me, for the news on both of them with that. But, I haven't gotten the update yet from today as far as I think they'll be coming in for treatment here in another hour or so. But I think she's progressing well.
And I assume as a coach, I mean, at the time when she goes down, I guess my initial thought was, it's good news that she came back on the bench. Deanna came back on the bench and had ice on her knee. But I guess from a coaching standpoint, even at that point, were you able to slightly breathe a sigh of relief, or was it even too early at that point for you really to get a feel for, how serious that could have been?
Yeah, I mean, in the midst of the game when she came back, I was still just focused in Nebraska and trying to win that game. After the game, of course, I talked with our athletic trainer, Aaron, and Dr. Carr, just to kind of see if they could give me a first look, if you will, thoughts on it. And that's when I was told it wasn't as serious as, we may have, anyone watching could maybe speculate. So that there was a sigh of relief for sure with that. And then it was just kind of like, okay, now I have to allow the medical team to do what they do and trust that they'll get her back playing and healthy as soon as possible.
I didn't want to monopolize.
No, you're good. You're fine.
Oh, okay. And then I guess that, just give us your thoughts on yesterday. I don't know if at this early stage in the day you've had a chance to go back and watch the tape or the film, whatever they call it these days. What stood out to you upon second look from the game as, in terms of a positive standpoint?
Yeah. The first thing that stood out to me live and watching it the second time was just the kind of sheer grittiness and the will to win that our players showed, everyone who stepped onto the court. I don't think there was a doubt in their mind that we were going to win the game, which I love to see as a coach. And I think Ronnie really was a catalyst of that from the very beginning, just making some, great hustle plays to start us off. And I think that helped build confidence. And then obviously Sarah came in and was extremely dominant as well. But, as I mentioned to John on the radio last night, I'd be remiss, so excited for Hallie Douglas to come in. And she started the game. We were down Brooke, and I think she started to kind of be back into a little bit of a groove that things she did last year for us really well, making great extra passes, getting a huge offensive rebound, knocking in big threes, and then defending. I was happy for her to see that. Obviously Tessa coming off the bench too and knocking in 2 huge threes. Nat coming out of her shooting slump, and then Sanaya, same thing. She'd been struggling shooting the ball and made some big key threes as well. And so I just think collectively, like watching it live, and we made some mistakes down the stretch. They made a run, and our kids took that and still were able to respond. So I was really proud of that.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, how much of a page turner do you feel like that is, just closing out a game like that? You highlighted it, like we play, like the effort's been there, but it's just a matter of playing a complete 40 minutes. And like we played a really great, I think you said like 35 and a half. We didn't play a good final 4.5.
Yeah.
To be able to immediately respond, just how impressed were you with that group, especially being shorthanded as you were?
Yeah, that's something that we've been harping on. It's about being able to finish, and I don't know if necessarily a page turner, but I think it's just I think, a notch for them to understand, and that was a critical game to win. When you win on the road, and Illinois has a great environment. It got really loud in there once they started making a run, and for our kids to be poised and to be able to step up and knock in key free throws, and Ronnie get that huge steal at the end. I think it's just I think it was a testament to kind of following the course and understanding that this is a marathon, not a sprint. But also it was huge to see a bench that we've struggled not necessarily getting as much production off of our bench come in and be able to answer the bell.
There were, last two games, you really, especially in the second half, you really relied on the core, of five. Yesterday, 5 players played all 10 minutes, and it was sort of similar in the second half against Nebraska. I guess my question is, I'm wondering, when you have to kind of tighten the bench up like that, does that affect, how the team plays in terms of like, what you from a strategy standpoint, does that alter how you think about, like, do I try this? Do we do that? Is there any adjustment that happens when your bench gets a little tighter toward the end of these last couple games?
I think, in the games are a little bit different for me. I think yesterday's game, there was such a rhythm with that crew that was together. There was a rhythm, I felt like, with Nebraska, but I think we got a little tired. Like fatigue set in a little bit in that last 4.5 minutes, and Nebraska made us pay for some of those plays where I think yesterday we were able to kind of overcome anything, and I think the momentum was on our side. You're winning, you're not kind of trying to come from behind or anything like that. But when you tighten the bench, the strategy pieces, they all have been in that mode of understanding what has been working. So when I'm telling them, here's what we're going to do to exploit maybe the defense, or offensively what we're going to do or defensively what we're going to do, they're all on the same page because they've been in the rhythm together. And so I think that helped. I also think I had Natalie, who's been in those games. I had Hallie, who's been in those games. And then even Sarah had, last year has played in a lot of close games. And I think Ronnie stepped up to the plate. And then Sanaya, second half of the season last year, had played in a lot of close games. So I think they felt really confident, that group together that was out there. And they just made some incredibly huge plays.
Obviously, rebounding was huge, 16 O boards. I think what made stand out just more is just your foul situation. Like, to commit just 9 personal fouls with a shortened bench, just what is that a testament to for, like Mark highlighted, like that core 5 being on the court for as long as they were, they accounted for all of them. Nobody was even close to fouling out.
Thank you, Lord. But I think we played a lot of zone. And so, in playing a lot of zone, there was a lot more jump shots taken. So I think that helped to preserve. I think Hallie got in foul trouble in the first half, so we needed to kind of foul trouble, and that she got 2, and so we needed to sit her a little bit more. But I think the zone really helped us. I think we were able to double in the post when we were in man, and that, like, with a bigger post player. So I think that helped to really kind of offset. And I also think it was a really physical game that the referees on both ends, I know we shot a ton of free throws, but I think they were playing way more man than zone, and going into Sarah and understanding that she was having such a dominant game, and then also our guards being able to get downhill, and to the rim. I think it was just it's something that we need to continue to do, and I think we showed, depending on our matchup, that the zone could be really effective.
Of all the players you mentioned there, Ronnie, from a playing standpoint, is probably has the least experience in terms of minutes played. I guess I'm wondering, but obviously this year she's playing more minutes than anyone. I guess I'm wondering, is she showing you? Is this the Ronnie you saw last year, or is this, is there something maybe a little different there that's maybe allowed her to really kind of sees this role as really kind of a true floor general type.
Yeah, I think playing behind Avery last year, you don't get to see all of the things that she could do, and I don't know that she could do these things last year, right? As a freshman, I think you're still getting a feel for. As we've talked about before, Ronnie scored over 2,000 points in high school. So when you're a point guard and a scoring point guard, you've got to be able to understand when it's time for you to score and when it's time to make plays for other people. And I think she's really grown in that role and understanding when she needs to get the ball in her hands. And she and I are working closely on that. Like, go get it, settle us down. She's understanding kind of the flow a little bit more, like when we need to push it, but when we need to pull it back out again. And so for her, I don't know that she could have done that last year. I guess like anything, if put in the situation, potentially she could have. But I think the clean basketball that she's playing, right now, and the rebounding is just an incredible testament to just, again, I think will and hustle and heart. But it's been really cool to see her progression and also that she stuck with it and hasn't, last year she just kept working at it and took advantage of whatever opportunities were presented to her. And then this year really, like you said, has seized that opportunity.
Natalie talked about it after the Nebraska game, just needing to step away, like kind of focusing inward during that holiday break. Hearing her talk about that, just how impressed are you and proud are you hearing like a player kind of take onus over that and realizing like I need to mentally kind of reset and just the maturity to kind of have that versus maybe being bullheaded, like just bullheaded and kind of trying to like play through it.
Yeah, I think that just speaks to being a senior versus being, an underclassman, understanding your game, yourself, and mentally what you need. Natalie's an incredible student. You see, she posted a 4.0. She's really dedicated to her studies, and I think when you have that and you're trying to balance basketball, that's a lot of mental strain that's going on. And so I think the break really allowed her to decompress from the school component of it and be able to kind of switch gears a little bit and understand I need a little bit more balance and I want to be able to have a positive impact on the team. And so I think that was I guess, perfect timing in that way for her. But also just not only maturity to know I need like to step away mentally, but then physically to get back in the gym, as she mentioned, and, really kind of get a groove and feel better about her shooting. That shows her dedication to this program and what it is she wants to do to try to help us compete and win.
Yeah. Jumping back to Hallie,
Yes.
when I spoke to her, about her comeback, this was a month ago, she mentioned that she was on a minutes restriction. Is that still the case, or is she really, is that gone?
So we're trying to kind of still gauge that, and anybody who's kind of had a kid come back from an ACL, you continue to kind of build on the minutes. But if you need to make a, kind of an adjustment, if you will, if they're having a day that maybe their knee's not feeling so great, but so far she's been able to continually progress, and so have not gotten, any kind of restriction to this point, where we are right now. We did, obviously, and then we progressed out of it. So that's something I'll definitely have to follow up with the medical staff just to make sure, based off of how many minutes she played last night. Obviously, we got a pretty quick turnaround. This is a long stretch. We had, Sunday, Wednesday, Saturday, Tuesday. So just trying to make sure that we're keeping her as fresh as possible. But right now, I thought she looked really good. And even after the game, asking her, she felt really good.
Yeah. Oh, one other question along those lines, and I was curious. Now, I know during when school is in session,
Yeah.
I think the players get 1 day a week
Yep.
off. Is that the way it is during, like, when there is no break?
When there is no break, you technically don't have to give them days off, but I still give them time
okay.
off because I think that would just not bode well for your success long term. So, in this kind of tight turnaround that we had. There's days off, but then there's also lighter days where you're just trying to do your prep in a different way. But yeah, no, you don't technically have to give them any days off when there's no school in session. But I've never kind of subscribed to like, hey, we're just going.
Yeah. No, yeah, because I just wondered, because typically, most of the time, the way the schedule's set up, teams get 2 days to prepare for a
Right.
game.
No,
and,
totally.
And it's with 3 games in one calendar week, and then you got 4 in 9
Yeah.
days or whatever that is. Then that kind of messes with that.
100%. So it's a delicate balance. It's trying to, know your team well enough to know, okay, do we bend a little bit here to give ourselves something back a little bit more for the game, mentally, physically, again, being short with some injuries, you got to make sure you're gauging that. So, it's kind of, it's a delicate balance that I'm trying to strike, and you want to be prepared, but sometimes preparation is rest.
How big is it kind of sandwiched home games around, like, I think in between like 3 road games, just getting a win on the road, knowing coming back, getting Northwestern ahead of 2 big road games, just how much kind of enthusiasm or energy can that give this group? Obviously coming off your first Big Ten win too.
Yeah, I mean, I think the kids were extremely excited. I was excited for them. Anytime you can get steal a road win, it's huge. And then coming back home, and a Northwestern team that we've battled with in the past couple of years, and arguably played a really tough first quarter last year, came out strong, and then at home, and then allowed them to come back in. I think it's important to be able to get 2 in a row here, and before you go on, as you said, go on the road for a tough stretch with our next 2 games after. So, but I think we're also, it's the old adage, we got to take one day at a time, and so trying to make sure right now they are focused in on Northwestern. And doing what we need to do to take care of business there, then we can kind of switch gears and look ahead to Michigan after that.
Is the biggest thing in your mind kind of cleaning things up a little bit offensively? I think just had just a better shooting night, but still just kind of cleaning things up and just maximizing those possessions. I think shot like 8 fewer threes. I think only shot 28.
Yeah.
But is it just trying to just kind of be more proficient?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think, we are getting some really good looks, within the things that we're running. We're moving the ball, but then being able to kind of finish those plays and knock shots in. I think the rebounding helps, right? So if you're not making them, getting O boards and being able to either finish or get to the free throw line. Transition. We had a couple, nice transition plays where we were able to get Sarah rim running. I think that's one of the first times we've gotten that this season, where we were able to get her out, and I think we can get a lot more out of that. So, but yeah, and then it's also trying to get back to a healthy core. The one thing that with 2 starters out, I think it enabled the bench to get some more minutes, which then obviously gives confidence, which then hopefully extends your bench. And as we're going deeper into the Big Ten season, so that's definitely a positive we're taking out of this as well.